Okay, well, for this video, I'm going to teach you a nature drawing exercise on birds. So obviously this will help you as you are doing your bird species accounts. All right, so to begin with, I noticed a bird on my bird feeder today, and I happen to know the identity of the bird. I have enough experience as a birder, as a biologist, to know the name of the bird. You, however, may not have as much confidence when it comes to identifying birds by sight. So remember that I've set aside a whole pile of field guides and resources that are set aside at the library at Mitchell Community College for you to check out. And one of those field guides, or several of those field guides, are bird field guides. So I'm using this National Geographic field guides to the birds of North America. And I happen to know that the bird I saw on my feeder was a Carolina wren. I know it by its call and its distinctive characteristics. Carolina wren's located right here. I know it because of its white eyebrow, its call, and its size, and its shape. And so I'm going to teach you in this video how to do a bird species account and also how to draw birds. So you first want to capture geometric shapes. So the first thing to do is capture geometric shapes. Okay, so the bird in question, the Carolina wren, is a short, stubby little thing. And okay, so again, you want to capture large geometric shapes first. So one good hint for drawing birds is that, as this simple quote you can remember, which is, "From an egg hatched another egg." In other words, we all know that birds are hatched from eggs, and it just so happens that birds are also rather egg-shaped themselves. So with our Carolina wren in question, I'm going to sketch the basic geometric shapes. Now, so first of all, and this is not going to look good. This is just a warm-up. It's not meant to look good. So I notice that it has an egg-shaped body. So notice that it's short, stubby little egg-shaped body. Okay. So there's an egg, and it has a head that looks somewhat like this. Another little egg. And it has a bill that's long and thin, and sort of like a long, thin triangle. And this is not a finished drawing. I'm just trying to get it's almost like a quick gesture sketch or warm-up of some sort. I'm not even filling in the details. Its tail is somewhat paddle shaped, like a canoe paddle. So we'll go ahead and draw that. And that's good enough for now. It also has an egg-shaped sort of set of wings. So those are the basic shapes. Looks pretty bad, and it's supposed to. It's not a finished drawing. Then I'm going to draw in a sketch of the skeleton just to help position the wings, the tail, and the feet. So I'm going to imagine and I'm referring to a drawing in the field guide, and that's okay. You can refer to a photograph on your phone, you can refer to a drawing in a field guide. Um, you know, I personally encountered this wren, so that's something to consider. So I'm going to draw its little feet in here, just to kind of get a sense of where they would be. Draw its wing bones, right? Thirdly, now I'm going to draw feathers, draw the feathers, excuse me. So let me switch. Okay, so I went ahead and I've drawn a bit more of a detailed shape sketch here, and now I'm going to draw the feathers. So that's the third step here. And this is going to be tricky, and I confess I feel a little bit vulnerable doing this on camera. Anyhow, the key thing to remember about feathers is you're just drawing groups of lines within the feather groups. So feathers are grouped on birds, and let me demonstrate for you. So little lines are for little feathers and big lines are for big feathers. You draw down the head and across the back. So for this little wren, we could say little feathers would be on the breast, to get something of that sort of effect there. Now I'm doing this in pen, and it's going to be a bit of a challenge. I might want to make this a diagrammatic drawing and indicate that it has the particular colors on it. And bigger lines for bigger feathers, such as on its back. But first of all, let's make some groups of feathers here. We can make little cells of feathers here. Do kind of something along this line right here. Just do lines within lines. And we get little feathers again on the breast. Some little feathers above its eyebrow. Little feathers on its cheek. That's how you can draw feathers. Okay. Now, the fourth thing to do, the beaks, it has to do with the beak. Beaks always vary according to their use. This is a very narrow beak. And in wrens, like the Carolina wren that you see drawn here, they tend to prefer little places, little crevices. In fact, I've seen them on my clothesline peeking in the clothes that they hang on the line to dry. They'll actually fly into the pockets of shirts and pants. They like to creep around in flower pots on your porch and into little crevices and nooks and crannies. And so they have a tool, a beak rather, that's designed for that purpose, for just sort of getting into small spaces. And before we go too much further, I noticed that it has a white eyebrow stripe. So white, do a little diagrammatic, has a white eyebrow. It's short and stubby. You might want to say, short, stubby kind of body. Also has some bars on its tail. Turn those little bars into little feathers like that. Okay. So beaks vary according to use. So we want to just, as we draw this beak, we want to remember that it needs to go into small spaces. Wrens are quite loud for their size. In fact, you can hear them year-round here in Iredell County, and they're just extremely loud and bright. Perhaps I'll play a recording of one here in a minute. Okay, we'll talk eyes. That's the fifth thing. So the fourth thing was to pay attention to the beak, which we already did. The fifth thing for drawing birds is to pay attention to the eyes. And I'll give you a handout related to this. If you want the bird to look alive, then you have to make the eye look alive. And so you have to pick a direction, an imaginary direction from which you want the light to come from. And we'll pretend the light's coming from the top and shining on this bird. And so if we completely color in the eye, then it'll look dead. But if we leave a little bit of spot on the top, it kind of gives it a little more lifelike appearance. Now, maybe you can see that, maybe not. In the top, perhaps it was not much of a spot there. Okay, and the sixth thing is to work on the feet. Of course, the feet of a bird are going to vary according to habitat, and wrens typically grab onto small twigs, branches, clotheslines, those sorts of things. So these feet look pretty bad. We could actually make this a twig coming up here, 1 and 2, and going down, reaching down here, put on a branch, and maybe another one, actually. Make another twig there. And since the feet are kind of messy, that kind of helps. But otherwise, you definitely don't, you want to pay attention to the kind of habitat and the kind of use that a bird's feet are for. But I got it way easy with that one on the feet. That's the last thing you draw. And so that's it. That's not completed. That's not a finished drawing. I would need to add color, and obviously I need to answer some questions. So first of all, let's review here. Okay, so the first thing to do when you draw birds is to capture the large geometric shapes. Okay, that's the first note. Then you sketch its skeleton, which I did up here, try to figure out where its wing bones and its leg bones might be. But then I stopped and I just went ahead and started to make I abandoned this, sort of a warm-up, you could say. Started to draw feathers. Third thing is to draw feathers. Little lines make little feathers, big lines make bigger feathers. Start from the head, work towards the tail. And then draw the beak. Remember that the beak serves a particular purpose. And then you draw the eyes. And lastly, we said draw feet. So perhaps that makes it a little less intimidating if you sort of take the parts of a bird in turn rather than trying to draw the whole thing at once. Now, you need to also make sure you do your four warm-up or 4 or 5 warm-up exercises before you draw, which I did not demonstrate in this video. However, that's a good practice so that you can make sure you get all the detail you need in your finished drawing. So there are some questions I want to answer about this Carolina wren. First of all, it is and so I would point you to this document right here. And let's go to okay, never mind. So, like I was saying, I would direct your attention to the 5 questions that you must answer for each of your species accounts. So that's enough. This has been a 15-minute video. Stay tuned. Perhaps I'll produce another video on a bird species account.